Hi everybody, welcome back to The Quiet Grind. I'm Charlie. I wasn't sure I was going to make it, but here I am on Sunday fun day, better than a Monday. Here I am, I made it. Not quite out of the woods yet with feeling a little ill, and but I'm here, and I wanted to get the video to you all. Pulled an all-nighter, helped out a friend. But I'm here. I wanted to get this video out to you. So, today I would like to talk about someone who is very important to me. My Uncle Dolindo. He's my father's brother. And since I've lived here in Malta, I've had the opportunity to spend some time with him, for which I'm very grateful for. I don't always get to visit him often because, well, life is life. But when I do get the chance to visit him, I'm reminded of something. Our elders need our time. And, as well, maybe just as importantly, we need theirs too. Just because there's something you get from talking with somebody who's lived a long life that you don't get from a book or the internet. Sometimes they teach you a lesson. Sometimes they tell you a story. They share a laugh with you. You share a drink, a coffee. Sometimes you just say nothing at all. There's actually a bit of a language barrier between Uncle Dolindo and I. His English isn't perfect and my Maltese is far from it. But somehow we make it work, we understand each other, whether through it's a gesture, certain words, expressions, whatnot, we figure it out. And even just sitting there with him, you know, and I've learned, even just sitting there in silence, and I've learned that there's nothing uncomfortable about that. You don't have to always fill the room with words. Sometimes just being there is simply enough. And I think as we get busier in life, we sometimes forget how valuable simply being present with somebody is, or can be. And Uncle Dolindo, well, you know, he makes me laugh. I remember when I first arrived here in Malta, he was trying to make me understand what he wanted to do for me. And finally he's just says, "Listen, I'm trying to tell you something, okay? Listen, understand? We're gonna go out for a drink." And you know, that's him. He's expressive, he's animated, and even if we're struggling with words sometimes, you know, we end up understanding each other. And the going for drinks part, those are some memories I'll cherish. Sometimes Uncle and I would be sitting outside, sitting at a local bar together, you know, just watching the world go by, and he'll look around and he'll give his observations. And he'll point to some people and he'll say, "You see them there? You see them there? They do nothing. Not work, nothing. Just sit here all day. Malta bums, Malta bums." I just laugh, you know, because he has his opinions and there is no filter involved. These things may sound like insignificant moments, but they certainly are not insignificant to me. There are times I'll remember. Something else that my uncle does that means a lot to me is, well, my father passed away in 2015, and sometimes my uncle will look at me and say, "Oh, you look like your father. Oh, you walk like your father. Oh, you're built like your father." And every time he says something like that, I think about what he's seeing, because I remember my father, but he is remembering his brother. He knew my father in ways I never could before I existed, when they were both young men. And so when he sees a little bit of my father in me, there's something special about that. Because of that, my Uncle Dolindo can tell stories about my dad that I couldn't have known myself. How strong he was, how good of a fighter he was, how he and his pals had this little gang, and if you wanted to join the gang, you'd have to fight my dad. And he would get animated, as he does, Uncle Dolindo, and, oh, you want to join the gang? Your father would say, "Okay, we fight, you fight, you fight." I don't know, if the purpose was the person had to beat my dad in the fight, or just had to show up and show they wouldn't back down. I don't know. And whether or not my father won every one of those fights, I don't know that either. I wasn't there, but my uncle was. And that part means something to me, because he's carrying memories of my dad that I don't have. And by sitting there and listening to him, I get another little piece of my father. He remembers things about me when I was just a little boy. There was a time when he's told me this story numerous times. He remembers when he tells me my father was giving me a thrashing for whatever reason, I don't know. And Uncle said to him, don't stop. And my father said to him, "Don't interfere, he's my son." And I will just say, yeah, well, Uncle, that was a long time ago, right? And what are you going to do? That was another time. But think about that. Here's this man sitting across from me that still remembers that little boy. That's family history. And if I don't take the time to listen to his stories, someday I won't have the opportunity to ask. And Uncle Dolindo, he's kind, and his kindness doesn't end with me. Every once in a while, my wife would run into him. And I remember this particular time when I was at work, and she sends me a selfie of he and her together via Facebook Messenger, saying something like, "Look who I ran into." Like, oh, that's awesome, And she said, "Yeah, he just bought me pastizzi or whatever, some sort of food." Okay, great, And then 20 minutes later, roughly, I get another message from my wife saying, "He just bought me more food, LOL." And I thought to myself, yep, that's him. He just wants to make sure you're taken care of. That's how he shows he cares. That's how he shows his love. That's Uncle Dolindo. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make it to my uncle's last birthday. Okay? So I did something for him. Nothing extravagant, just a little something personal to brighten his day. And I had a picture made of him and I sitting outside of a local bar, just talking together, you know, and here is the picture I had made for him. You know, and then I gave it to him. Here he is with it. Now look at his face. He was so happy. He was telling me, put it there, so I see it all the time. Put it there, put it there. He wanted it somewhere where he could take a glance and see it when he wanted to. And that meant something to me too. And that's something I've thought about ever since. You know, to do something meaningful, especially for our elders, I found you don't need a grand gesture. You know, just something simple. Maybe it's, well, in this case, a picture. Maybe you bring them something they like, take them somewhere, just sit and talk with them, sit in silence even. Sometimes, you know, it's just that showing up. You're telling somebody something without actually saying words. You're saying to them, I thought about you. You're important to me. You haven't been forgotten. And there's another side to this. When we give our elders our time, they're giving us something as well. They've lived through things we've not. They remember people who aren't here anymore. They know family stories that may never have been written down. They knew what places looked like before we saw them. They've watched communities grow and change. They've watched families grow. They made their mistakes and they've had their victories. They've lost people and loved people. That's a lifetime in front of you. And sometimes you don't even realize you're learning. You're just sitting there, having that coffee or that drink, listening to an old story, laughing about something. And you know what? You're receiving a little piece of somebody else's life. I think sometimes we don't fully appreciate these moments until we no longer have them. And you know, that's something I don't want to do. You know, maybe I didn't spend enough time with my father. Maybe I didn't listen to enough of his stories. Had opportunities to learn from him that might have been presented to me. You know? And like I said, that's something I don't want to do now. You know? I don't want to wait until somebody is gone and then start talking about how they meant so much to me. I want them to know how much they mean to me while they're still here. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. Far from it. I'm not perfect at this. I'm not perfect at anything. Like I said, I don't get to see my Uncle Dolindo as often as I'd like to. You know, but I try. Because when I get the opportunity, I know that time matters to him and it matters to me as well. So maybe that's what I'd ask you to think about today. Is there someone like Uncle Dolindo in your life? Your father, your mother, grandfather, grandmother, aunt, uncle, an elderly neighbor, somebody you're not even related to that you just like and respect. When was the last time you sat down with them? You know, not because you needed something or there was a problem you needed solved. Just, you know, to be there. And maybe ask them a question. Let them tell you a story. Have a coffee and share a laugh. Or even say nothing at all. Just sit together. Because sometimes that's enough. Just being present for our elders. I found anyway. Uncle Dolindo isn't sitting around watching YouTube. He very well may not see this video. However, Malta, it's a small world, and Malta, and particularly the island of Gozo, is much smaller. So there could be a chance that somebody that knows my uncle as well will see this. And if that happens, Uncle Dolindo, I just want to let you know something. Yin Hobok, I love you. I love you, man. And the time that we spend together means more to me than you realize. And maybe that's the message I want to leave everyone with today. If you still got those people in your life, parents, grandparents, etc., make some time. You don't always have to say something. Sometimes you just sit. Because one day, you won't be able to. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm Charlie, and this has been The Quiet Grind, Built in Silence. Thank you so much for coming out.